Hey guys, what is up? It is SSD Middleman here with GuidesForUsAll, and today we're going to be checking out all of the curved sword weapons in Dark Souls 2. Make sure to click anywhere on the screen if you want to skip to a certain weapon, and let's get started with the Scimitar. This is pretty much your basic generic curved sword. You can get it in the No Man's Wharf elevator that brings you up to the Lost Bastille by riding up to the top, activating the elevator, and getting out before the doors close, and hopping on top of the elevator and jumping out into this little hole as you can see on screen. You can also get it from some dudes in No Man's Wharf, and if you start as a swordsman, you're going to have this weapon right off the bat. Now, if you upgrade this to plus 10, you're going to be doing 220 base damage with an E scaling in strength, but an A scaling in dexterity. Obviously, these weapons are meant for dexterity builds, and this one can become very powerful as your dexterity level goes up. Now, the scimitars, the curved swords have pretty good aiming compared to some of the other weapons that are kind of clunky with the aiming. You'll miss sometimes just because of the way your character swings them. The curved swords are very good with the way you swing them, and they're pretty nice in PvP when you're going against enemies. You don't kind of get stuck in the way you swing it so that they can backstab you easily. It's pretty hard to backstab someone when they're using a curved sword. You've got quite a bit of versatility with it, and you know, since this is the basic one, I can't say that I love it too much, but it's always fun to bust out. Anyways, let's move on to the red Rust Scimitar, which you can buy from Vengarl after you defeat his body. In the normal game, you have to defeat him by the Duke's Dear Freya, and then in Scholar of the First Sin, you can find him in the Shaded Woods.
May we meet again?
Once you do that, you can buy this from him for 7,500 souls, and at plus 5, you upgrade this with Twinkling Titanite. You will be doing 270 base damage with a C scaling in strength and an E scaling in dexterity. Not a dexterity weapon here, but this weapon is a lot of fun. I like all of the red Rust weapons. I think they look really cool, and even though it is red Rust, it kind of looks like a blood-stained weapon, and that's probably the big reason I like this thing, but it is a very fun weapon to use. It has the falchion moveset, which is kind of odd considering that it's called the Scimitar, but awesome weapon nonetheless. I love using it, and I definitely recommend you give it a shot. Let's move on to the Spider Fang, which you can get from the Weaponsmith Ornifex by trading the Duke's Dear Freya's soul. Wow, that was just the worst sentence structure I've ever had. But this weapon is awesome. It is very unique in the fact that its heavy attack will not only hit enemies, but it will shoot a web, which will slow them down temporarily. It is a ton of fun in PvP when you catch someone off guard, if they don't know about this weapon or they don't expect you to be using it, and you shoot it at them. I think what it does is it increases their load so that they move a ton slower. They heavy roll, they fat roll. It is hilarious, as you can see on screen. Anyways, at plus 5, you'll be doing 210 base damage with an E scaling in strength and an A scaling dexterity. Buff up your dexterity if you're going to be wanting to use this weapon, because it doesn't really pack a huge punch with the regular hits. But seriously, the special attack is amazing on this weapon, and if you haven't given it a shot yet, you need to pick it up right now. Go. What are you doing? Stop watching the video. Go use the Spider Fang. Let's move on to the Mayble Scimitar, which you can get from Laddersmith Gilligan after purchasing the biggest ladder that you can buy from him for 12,000 souls, and he will give this to you. He'll go, "Oh, thank you so much, you're beautiful, take this." And yeah, it's a pretty good weapon. If you upgrade it to plus 10, you'll be doing 250 base damage with a D scaling in strength and a C scaling dexterity. Slightly less damage due to the scaling issues, but that also means that infusing it might be a good idea. That's just my thoughts. But it has the same moveset as the Falchion and the Red Rust Scimitar, I believe. And, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about this weapon. It looks really fancy. It's got gems encrusted in the handle and the hilt, which, I don't know, it looks pretty cool. You can walk around, do a little bit of a Prince cosplay, maybe. Prince of Persia cosplay. Please, somebody do that. I just randomly thought of that, and now I really want to see it. Anyways, moving on to the Monastery Scimitar. This weapon here, you can get it from a Black Phantom that you can find in only New Game Plus. You can also ascetic the second bonfire in Aldia's Keep, which I come from here. And yeah, when you kill this Phantom, it does not respawn. So when you kill it, you're going to need to go kill the Guardian Dragon, bonfire ascetic, kill the Phantom, kill the Dragon, bonfire ascetic, over and over and over again until you get this weapon. And yeah, it took me about 26 bonfire ascetics to get this weapon. That's probably just my luck being horrible. But seriously, could you make this weapon any more annoying to get? Anyways, once you get this thing to plus 10, you're going to be doing 190 base damage with an E scaling in strength and an S scaling in dexterity. Very nice with the S scaling. You don't see that on too many weapons, but when you do, I don't know. I just love seeing that S. Anyways, when you have like 40-40 strength and dex, you won't even be doing like 300 damage, so the S scaling doesn't really make up for the kind of mediocre base damage that this weapon has. And like some of the other scimitars, I actually haven't mentioned this, if you wield this weapon with 2 hands, or if you wield it in your offhand and use the power attack, you will actually do like a spin parry, which is really cool. You can do this with some of the other scimitars, but people love doing this with this scimitar because there actually used to be a glitch where it would instantly parry instead of the normal parry timing, but they actually fixed that, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, but it's a lot of fun to use this weapon. It's interesting. Not worth getting, in my opinion. Maybe my luck was just absolutely sour, and you guys will have more luck getting this weapon than I did, but oh my gosh, it was probably about 5 or 6 hours of gameplay. I'm just going for this stupid thing. I had to play on other characters because I was using all my bonfire aesthetics and it was driving me nuts. Anyways, let's move on to the falchion, one of the most famous weapons in Dark Souls ever since Demon Souls. People have loved using this bad boy. You can get it from Blacksmith Leningrass for 1,200 souls. It's also dropped by the Forest Grotesques in the Shaded Woods, but just buy 2 of them from Blacksmith Leningrass and dual wield them and do your fancy ass moveset. I was going to say some other words, but they didn't come to mind. At plus 10, you're going to be doing 240 base damage with an E scaling in strength and an A scaling in dexterity. That is some pretty nice damage build up there, especially in the early game. If you grab both these guys and you're going for a dexterity build, that power stance with these guys is pretty nasty. It's one of my favorite power stances, I'd say, in the game, just because of the spins you do. I don't know. I just like things that look cool. Some other people don't like the cool things because they're not super amazingly powerful, but you know, you gotta have a little bit of style in Dark Souls or you're doing it wrong. Anyways, moving on to the Shuttle, the Shuttle, the Shuttle. You can get the Shuttle, Shuttle from the treasure chest in the Black Gulch from the first bonfire. Head on out and then go left down this path, and at the end you'll find the chest. Be careful because those giant worm, spider, eaty thingies will come up behind you while you're trying to open the chest and eat the crap out of you. You can also get this from the Kobolds in Aldia's Keep and a plus 5 version from Roy the Explorer in the Grave of Saints, but don't go for random drops. It will make your life hell. At plus 10, you're going to be doing 200 base damage with an E scaling in strength and an A scaling in dexterity, which makes for some pretty nice base damage, and I really like this weapon because it is the most curved of the curved swords. That was a little lame, but it is very curvy. I mean, look at it. It reminds me of a sickle, and I'm pretty sure that this is the weapon that those dudes in that forest area, and I can't think of anything about Dark Souls 2 when I'm doing videos on it, but the dudes in the forest area with the black armor, I'm pretty sure this is the weapon they use. It's kind of fun to use in PvP because it mixes things up. I don't think I've ever played against anybody using this weapon in PvP, so it's pretty fun to use things that are underused, but it's really not all too special of a weapon, unfortunately. To get the Warped Sword, you're going to want to trade the Flexile Sentry Soul to Straight of Olafis. Now this weapon is also pretty curvy. It reminds me of a curved road, but we're not here to talk about the curves of the weapon, although I can appreciate a weapon with nice curves. But at plus 5, you do upgrade this thing with Petrified Dragonbone. You'll be doing 250 base damage with an E scaling in strength and an A scaling in dexterity, which makes for some pretty nice damage with this thing. But the beauty of it is that it swings pretty fast, and it's got 25 poise damage along with it. Now, I was reading the wiki page because I hadn't even thought of this with this weapon, but due to its kind of unique, kind of spinny attack, you can power stance this with other weapons and make for some very interesting combos. I'm not going to go over all the ones that I'm reading here, but one that really piques my interest is with the Ivory Straight Sword that emits the beam when you do the special attack. You can actually use this weapon's spinning move, and it will do the beam, which extends the weapon's length while spinning. But it will drain its durability twice. It's a very interesting combination, and I don't think I've ever seen somebody use this in PvP either. Please mix things up in PvP. I'm sick of seeing the Havel monsters casting sorceries and hexes at me, and then just every other person with katanas thinking they're a freaking ninja. It gets tiring sometimes. But this is not a ranting video, so let's move on to the Mannequin Saber. You can get this from the mannequins that are holding them in Earthen Peak. This one was also kind of hard for me to get. I had to farm this place a good hour and a half to get this weapon, although I'm sure most of you guys are just going to kill a mannequin on accident and get this as a drop because that's just my luck. But once you get these drops, it always feels pretty nice. At plus 10, you'll be doing 245 base damage with a D scaling in strength and a B scaling in dexterity. Not phenomenal base damage, but not too shabby. It actually got a bleeding effect added in a patch, so that's pretty nice, but I really don't think the bleed damage is all that much. It's 100 at plus 10, but this weapon's kind of weird. I don't know. Its range feels kind of shorter than some of the other weapons. Of course, I love the look of all the mannequin weapons, and it's a ton of fun to use dual wield, but I am just too lazy to farm these guys again to get another mannequin saber. So, yeah, unfortunately, I can't give you a review of the dual wield, and I did not experiment with this weapon very much, so sorry, I don't have much to say about it. But let's move on to the last but not the least, the Elaim Lois. You can get this by trading the Soul of Alsana to Weaponsmith Ornifex along with 12,000 souls. Getting the Soul of Alsana is a pain in the butt, or it can be really easy if you don't care about the other rewards that she offers. You can either get 50 Lois souls by farming the crap out of the enemies in the Ivory King DLC boss room, or you just shoot her with a bow a couple times until she dies, and you'll get her soul, but you will, of course, sacrifice getting all the rest of the awards that she offers for the souls. But we're just here to talk about the Elaim Lois, so I just shot the crap out of her with the bow. Anyways, you upgrade this bad boy with Petrified Dragonbone. At +5, you're going to be doing 165 base damage with an E scaling in strength and an S scaling in dexterity. You will also be doing 60 bleed damage per hit. Now you might think, well, this weapon doesn't really seem that good. It kind of seems like a crappy curved sword. And why would they make this weapon so bad if it is such a pain in the butt to get? Well, actually, it has a special effect. The strong attack can be used to heal allies or take health from enemies. So if you're playing with somebody and they're running low on health and they don't have any means of healing, like no healing pyromancies or anything, you pull out the Elaim Lois and you stab them with the strong attack and it'll heal them. Or if you're running out of health and for some ungodly reason you don't have 99 life gems in your inventory, you could just start poking enemies with the R2 and you will start healing yourself. It's a fun weapon to use. The low damage doesn't make this thing a very incredible weapon in PvP, and it kind of looks like, you know, some tree branches taped together to make a weird looking thing. But it is fun to use, it is interesting, and that is the beauty of this game, is the interesting weapons. Now, if you two-hand strong attack, you will actually get slightly more health recovered or healed to your teammate. So if you're going to be healing, make sure to put this thing in both hands. You got to hold it with both hands, boys, because this thing is big and it is powerful. And yeah, I really don't know what else to say about this weapon. Not a weapon you want to use if you're doing a super serious playthrough, but if you're chillaxing, hanging out with some friends, wanted to try some weird builds, give this bad boy a shot. Anyways, thanks for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like rating down below and subscribe to see some more videos in the future. Let me know what your favorite curved sword is, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.